Hello, fourth graders. Today we are reading from the Oregon Adventures in Time and Place, published by Macmillan and McGraw-Hill. And we are going to read the section about trappers and traders. So follow along and answer questions as they pop up. Here we go. The Mountain Men. As you have read, the British Hudson's Bay Company was in control of the fur trading business in the Northwest. John Jacob Astor's attempt to set up an American trading post in the same area had not been successful. In 1882, two Americans, William Ashley and Andrew Henry, began American fur trading in the Northwest. Ashley placed advertisements in St. Louis, Missouri newspapers. Young men. William H. Ashley wishes to hire 100 men to travel up the Missouri River to its source, there to work for 1, 2, or 3 years. Jedediah Smith was one American who answered this advertisement. Smith and other young men who signed up to work for Ashley and Henry's Rocky Mountain Fur Company were sent out in brigades to hunt through the winter. These trappers became known as mountain men. They were called mountain men because they spent so much of their time in the mountains learning the secrets of nature and the way of the wilderness. A mountain man's clothing was made up entirely of animal skins. His pants, coat, and moccasins were usually made of fringed buckskin. The trappers used pieces of fringe to repair parts of his clothing. These brave men often waded in icy waters to set traps for beavers. They ate little except buffalo and deer meat. Narrow escapes from large animals such as grizzly bears were not uncommon. Jedediah Smith experienced the first of many brushes with death in 1823 while leading a brigade west along the North Platte River in Wyoming. One of his men later wrote the account of Smith's experience with a grizzly bear. He and the bear met face to face. Grizzly did not hesitate a moment, but sprung on Smith, taking him by the head first. A good route through the Rockies. Only a week and a half after Smith's wounds had been stitched, this determined man pushed the brigade westward. They had asked Indians they met on the way for the best route to the Green River in Wyoming. They followed the directions the Indians had given them, and in this way found South Pass. This route through the Rocky Mountains was easier to travel than the trail Lewis and Clark had found. It says use the map on page 108 to trace the trappers' route west. So here's that map. As you remember, Lewis and Clark went north and followed the Missouri, whereas these mountain men are here on the North Platte River and went through in a more southern pass. Okay, back to the text. This South Pass Trail had great importance for the future American settlement of the West. Less than 20 years after this discovery, thousands of Americans would drive their wagons across South Pass on their way west. Smith and his men met with Ashley at the Green River in the spring of 1825. This meeting was the first rendezvous. A rendezvous was a large meeting of fur traders, trappers, and Indians from all over the Rocky Mountain region. The owners of the fur companies bought supplies to sell to the brigades and to trade with Native Americans for furs. At this rendezvous, thousands of Indians set up camp with their families. Once the trading was done, the men took part in races, games, and contests. They feasted heartily. The mountain men talked for hours about the places they had seen, and in this way, they spread information about the West. A wagon journey. In the spring of 1830, Smith, who was now part owner of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, left again from St. Louis. He and the other partners of the company led several wagons loaded with supplies along the North Platte River. Their route took them across the South Pass to the Wind River in Wyoming. This trip was extraordinary because before this time only pack horses and mules had been led across this trail west. In 1830, Smith wrote a report about his wagon journey for the United States government. The purpose of the report was to spread the word about the ease and safety of traveling this route along the North Platte River to the Oregon country. Americans who stayed. In 1832, Nathaniel J. Weath of Boston decided to start a fur trading business in the Oregon country. But after two unsuccessful trips there, Weath gave up hope of establishing a fur business. Weath, however, had made some important contributions to the further settlement of the Oregon country. On his second trip to Oregon, he built a trading post called Fort Hall. Also, some of the men who had come with him on his trips stayed and settled in the Oregon country. By the time Weath left the Oregon country for the second time in 1836, the business of fur trading was coming to an end. There was less demand for furs since men had started wearing silk hats instead of beaver hats. There weren't many beavers left to trap anyway. American settlers. As you've read, the mountain men made important discoveries that helped the Oregon country to settlers, opened the Oregon country to settlers. After the last rendezvous in 1840, many of these men settled in the Willamette Valley and took up farming. All right, thank you for watching, and make sure you get this assignment turned in.